Hello, as I sit here in front of the poster for my very first movie, Freak Out. It has probably been since the last time that this was in a Snob episode, which would have been when I was filming things in the basement within the first, I think, 5 years of the show, and this was always in the background. It's probably been since then that this was actually hung up on a wall. It used to be framed, and then when I lived in my previous place, it was one of the things that never made it outside of the basement. So it's kind of in rough shape right now for like the 6 or so years that it spent in the basement in Spiderville, making a home inside of my Freak Out posters. The edges are really rough on this thing, man. It just looks like someone started burning it and then gave up because, well, I've actually never seen this movie. Maybe I shouldn't burn the poster. All right, let's stop, put it back in the basement with the spider. So it's kind of cool to be doing this in front of the poster. So I'm here, much like we did when we were doing the Indiegogo campaign for Jesus Bro, where I came in front of the camera and talked a little bit more detail about the movie. Our next Indiegogo campaign for our next film is for another Cinema Snob movie. That actually is the title of the movie. The title of the movie is Another Cinema Snob Movie. Because we're bringing that back. You know, every now and then you still see like TOO and something. Not so much anymore with another on there. So in the tradition of another 48 Hours and another Stakeout and another Son of Sam, there's another Cinema Snob Movie. And if you want to contribute to the campaign, the link to our Indiegogo campaign is in the description of this video, either on the site or on our YouTube channel. Subscribe to us at youtube.com/thecinemasnob, where you'll see more updates about the movie. There'll be more updates on the Indiegogo page, also on Twitter as well. Follow us at the Cinema Snob over on Twitter. So this movie actually has a little bit of backstory. It almost got made, I want to say like 4-5 years ago. This was that brief period where I was still like technically on Maker after Blip went under, and then it became Maker. And during this brief period, Ryan Mitchell, who directed the Cinema Snob Movie, and he directed Jesus Bro and is the director on another Cinema Snob Movie as well. He and I were approached about doing a movie for Maker, and it would be a sequel to the Cinema Snob Movie, and they were going to fund it and everything. There were similar things that they were doing with other people on Maker, where they were given money to produce like specific content for, on some video platform. Not Maker, but something else, I think. Anyway, so Ryan and I were talking about different ideas and plots that we had for a sequel to the movie, and we did have a pretty good plot in mind for it. We at least had a good starting point on it, and we thought it would be a lot of fun. But the amount of time that they gave us for pre-production, filming, and then post-production and having this thing posted was very short. It was like a month or something like that. It was... Now, if it was a movie I was directing, and it had the budget of something like Disco, and was filmed like Disco, or any movie I've directed, Hooker with a Heart of Gold, whatever. Yeah, I probably could have done that in like a month. Something like this, though, with a much bigger budget, much bigger film crew, special effects, all of that. No, we were like, we can't do it. This would be a terrible product if we were to put this out like in a month. We don't have that kind of turnaround time. We can't do it. So the movie didn't get made, and then some ideas from it were then put into the script for this Hallmark Christmas movie parody that I wrote. Some of the ideas were then put into that, and then this Christmas horror parody that I wrote called Baby It's Cold Outside, that was going to be like our next big project, after Jesus Bro. But in doing a movie like Baby It's Cold Outside, obviously it has to be uh, released in like a certain month, either like November or December. It's got to be done around there. So turnaround time on that would have been quick, like not to the extent of Maker wanting us to do the Cinema Snob movie quick, but we can do like another big project between now and like whenever we would do the Christmas movie, because there's a lot of pre-production that would be put into the Christmas movie that we have written. So we were like, we've got like plenty. We've got like a couple years, we got between Jesus Bro, we got 2-3 years between Jesus Bro and Baby It's Cold Outside. We should really look into another Cinema Snob movie. So Ryan and I were talking about it and different ideas that we had that we could do with the characters and everything. We bounced back and forth a lot of different ideas for the script, and we really wanted to do it. We for a lot of reasons we did. We really do love the first movie, and it would be really, really cool to do a sequel to the Cinema Snob movie, considering how we have much better equipment now than we did with the first film. The first film has a lot of sound issues. It has some makeup issues with that beard on my face and everything. So we thought it would be really, really cool to see what we could do to advance this story, to do new things with this character, with all of the equipment and everything that we have now. We can do things a lot better and be a lot more ambitious with it than we could with the first film. So we want to make it a road movie, where if you've seen the Cinema Snob movie, or if you haven't, the movie is about an exploitation filmmaker named Craig, who him and his business partner are trying to get a movie made, and it's a blaxploitation movie called Black Angus, and they need to get these filming permits, and the guy who runs the local film board doesn't want him making this movie, so Craig has to create this character called the Cinema Snob in order to infiltrate this film group. And then once he does, it kind of turns into an exploitation movie. It turns into like a giallo thriller where there's like this unseen killer going around picking off different members of the film board. So now he's kind of going through this like exploitation movie mystery thriller. And then for this sequel, it's several years later, and he has a movie that's released in theaters, and I won't say what the movie is until later, but until it's deeper into production and everything. But he's got a movie that's released, and it totally bombs hard. It bombs hard, is like laughed off the screen. It's a total fucking embarrassment. So he and the movie's director end up like hitting the road with a couple of other fictitious YouTuber characters. They end up four of them end up hitting the road so they can make it across country to essentially get Craig's dad, who is this TV executive, to save all of their careers, because each one of them is going through different levels of controversy and low points in their career. And he has to like don this Cinema Snob character throughout a lot of it as well, because that's kind of what a lot of these people know him as. So that's really the overall like plot of the film. But like the first one, it does turn into an exploitation movie as it goes along, because it becomes like this 70s road movie. So it's got different parts along the way. They run into like, there's this farmhouse of cannibals, there's this museum of clowns that come to life, there's also this like 2-lane blacktop plot with like another racer. So you have elements of like 2-lane blacktop, Vanishing Point, like Motel Hell, Tourist Trap, things like that. So it's like this like 70s style road adventure with all of these characters. And Sean Millington put up a campaign poster for us that's really cool. That's myself with like the clowns around me, and we're doing alternate versions of that because Ryan was concerned that like it looks like, at first glance at this, it looks like we're making the hills have eyes, but instead of mutants, they're clowns, and that like that's the entire movie. So we're doing all. Sean is putting together like alternate poses where like there'll be the cannibal family in the back, and then there's one where it's just the snob in the mountains and like the road underneath them. So like the clowns are just like one aspect of the movie. It isn't the entire film. And this is an all or nothing campaign for Indiegogo. With Jesus Bro, it was a flexible campaign. Like we if it came in under the 50,000 we were asking for, we would have had to have made a lot of cuts and a lot of sacrifices, but Jesus Bro would still have gotten released. With this movie, it's a situation where if it came in under that and we still had to make the movie, it'd be a really inferior product. Kind of like what we were talking about with the Maker earlier. It would have been too much would have to be sacrificed. Too much would not be able to get made, and the movie would really, really, really suffer because of that. And we don't want to make a bad movie, let alone a bad sequel. So this is an all or nothing one, and like Jesus Bro, it's $50,000. So please donate, share, all of that stuff to help us get our movie made. And we have a lot of perks like we did beforehand that involve getting like digital copies of the Cinema Snob Movie, Jesus Bro, Disco. Also hard copies of some of those films, like a hard copy of another Cinema Snob Movie. Also our 2 Snob DVDs, like the uncut, uncensored ones, like Nudies, Rudies, and Crudies, and Unerotic Fantasies. And there is another Snob uncut DVD I'm putting together, which is called The Cinema Snob Punches Nazis, and it's all uncut reviews of like 70s Nazi exploitation movies. Like Nazi Love Camp 27, Red Knights of the Gestapo, Achtung the Desert Tigers, and a couple others. There's 5 episodes on there. That DVD is going to be released later, but it is a perk. Like you can get an early, you get it sent to you before it ends up going for sale. So that's one of them. Our highest one on there, the highest one on the Jesus Bro campaign, the highest perk was having a role in the movie. In this, I don't know how much that would fit in this, but the highest perk is, and we added this later, the highest perk is actually getting your name mentioned in the movie's dialogue in context to something that's going on in the movie. So that's the highest perk we have right now. And like with Jesus Bro, you would say you get one of the a perk that's above the lowest one, you get everything below that as well. If you get the perk that's like Disco and the Cinema Snob Movie, you also get the movies that come with the perks underneath that as well, and all the advantages of all those as well. If you get the one that's the 2 Cinema Snob DVDs, you get the DVDs underneath it as well. So it was the same with Jesus Bro too. Now as far as casting goes for the movie, there's not much I can say about that now because a lot of casting hasn't been finalized. In terms of the characters of the movie, there will be like actors who were in the first one that are returning for this, but not necessarily the same character. Obviously the Craig character is a returning character, but beyond that, there's not really any other returning character necessarily, but returning actors certainly. And a lot of casting hasn't been done yet because other than myself and Yeo Gutierrez as my agent. He plays my agent in the movie, and he played my agent on a couple Cinema Snob episodes. He played my agent in the Heaven's Gate Cinema Snob episode. He and I are cast in the movie, but beyond that, with a movie like this, in terms of like the Team Snob group, like, you know, Sarah, Dave, Brian, and all them, that certainly comes down to availability on a movie like this, because scheduling is so tight. When it's a movie I'm directing, like Disco, it's very flexible, because those are very micro budgeted movies and can kind of be shot anytime. So this roles will kind of depend on availability, really. But although I do have fixed roles in my head for them, we have, and this is why a lot hasn't been cast yet, because we have like a big stretch goal beyond the 50,000. Say we were to get much above the 50,000, we would like to actually get some names for some of these characters, particularly the role of the snob's dad. There is like dream casting that I have for the character of the Cinema Snob's dad. I won't say who it is, but, and I have a list just in case, like, you know, my number one pick can't do it. But there is like dream casting for that, and that's like our stretch goal. We would really, really, really like this person to play the snob's dad, and it is feasible. But again, it's going to come to it's really going to come down to what the Indiegogo campaign brings in, and that's kind of the case with some of the other characters in the movie as well. And shooting for the film, like let's say the campaign comes through, shooting for the film, it would be about the same as Jesus Bro, because I want to say the Indiegogo campaign for Jesus Bro like also ended in August or sometime in the summer, and it, like this one, it was a 45-day campaign. So I think this has about 40 days left. And Jesus Bro was shot at the end of October and the beginning of November. I think it had like a week-long shoot, week and a half long shoot. I don't know, I'll have to watch the behind-the-scenes footage again. Ryan would remember, he had a much harder job on that movie than I did. So this would kind of be the same way, whereas like it would be shot around that same time, like October, November, and then for an early 2019 release, which is again why we wanted to push back even farther the Christmas movie, because it's all about putting out like a great finished product, not about rushing it to meet some December deadline or something like that. So with this one, we could focus a lot of time on pre-production, post-production, and the movie would probably be released around like spring, or maybe like sometime early 2019, because that's what we're looking at. We're looking at like a fall shoot for this movie. So please, again, spread around the link, contribute it, tell your friends, link it to places like, you know, Twitter, Facebook, Tumblr, you know, all of that. And we will be doing like when we were campaigning for Jesus Bro, there'll be live streams, there'll be other videos. There'll be a couple of special Cinema Snob episodes coming up to also help promote the campaign. So help us get another Cinema Snob made. And thanks a bunch for watching, everyone. Later.